but it kicks back up in like 2 weeks. So it's
all right. Well, we are live. Welcome everyone to another installment of Klooby Snacks. Yay! Klooby Snacks Sunday night. Klooby Snack time. It's casual time that we spend together on a Sunday night, but it's very meaningful conversations that emerge. And by now, everybody knows Klooby Snacks. There's 52 of them. We're going to be doing this all year long. They're divided into 4 baker's dozens. Right now, we are in the loving flavored baker's dozen before we move on to ego, then discipline, then integrity flavored Klooby Snacks. So I'm joined by my daughter and co-author, Abby, also another co-author, Sue, who was co-author on Get a Clue in 52 for Speakers, which we read every week last year. And so this is kind of like, the soft skills series. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and this is different. Klooby Snacks is totally different. So who wants to go first? How was your week before we dive in and get snackalicious tonight?
My week was amazing. I was very busy. There you go. My week was great. I was busy with school, but everything is starting to slow down because senior year is coming to an end. So it's kind of slowing down now, which is nice. And I'm basically, even though we get out of school in June, I'm basically done in like April because that's when like AP classes are like done. So I'm done. It was great.
Yeah.
What's come around quick, Abby?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sue is here with us. Sue, how was your week?
My week personally was pretty full on, pretty busy, and more widely, just had concern for friends with the cyclone in Queensland. So, but all my friends have been okay. No significant property damage, and so it's really good that everyone's okay.
Yeah. All right, I'd like to hear that.
Is he frozen? Am I frozen?
Are you frozen, Abby? Does this happen?
I think you're frozen, Abby.
Oh no, this happens a lot here in our house with Wi-Fi and all of the.
Is it fixed now?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
You're competing against each other with your Wi-Fi.
No, my phone Wi-Fi is off. Like, I don't know.
Well, listen, everyone, I'm Jeff Kluback, right? So we introduced Abby, we introduced Sue. And, the show must go on because we're rolling live on a live stream.
It's been like the past few weeks. Oh, there he goes. Oh, he's back.
How about you, Abby? I think you're the one that's frozen.
I'm frozen?
Yeah, we can, maybe we're the only ones here. We got to ask Brody not to use Wi-Fi right now.
The Wi-Fi's just been bad. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. There's all kinds of, all of a sudden there's weird energy right now in the house. The dogs are barking. The Wi-Fi's cutting in and out.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're fine. All right. So we're just gonna let's get rolling. We want to get into this snack and
the dogs.
Yeah, hang on one second. All right, just a little bit of help. Like, Brody, help us out with the dogs, bud. Okay, here we go. Sunday night casual. We're, coming right from the Kluback household into yours with Klooby Snacks. So what we want to do is do a little bit of a review of how we got here. Again, we are in the loving flavored baker's dozen, and it started with Klooby Snack number 1, when you have to keep it all together. Love is the best adhesive. And then number 2, I will always love you more than I will ever miss you. It's kind of fun to go through these rapid pace because they all, you know what I mean? They unlock so much conversation and meaning, etc. But continuing on, 3 is, if it were up to me, it would be called Profrontation. That's one of my favorite little quirky, cheeky Klooby Snacks. And then number 4, I'd rather fail in my commitment to loving than succeed in my commitment to suffering. And then number 5, it takes as much confidence to be led as it does to lead. Number 6, when possible, replace statements with questions. Number 7, being real is about being truthful to what is known. Being vulnerable, however, is the courage to learn more about what is true. It's a little bit more long-winded, but it still stays succinct, in my opinion. Enough, right? To be snackable, bite-sized, and delicious.
Okay.
Number 8, everyone is important if we take time to know their importance. And then last week, we did number 9, how you're saying what you are saying is, in fact, what you are really saying. So now I want to go ahead and get into screen sharing, because when we took a little peek at tonight's Klooby Snack, I noticed that there's some cool imagery to share. And so without any further ado, Abby, are you ready to rock and roll? Okay, cool.
You're ready.
All right. So I'm going to, of course, here's the snack, and I'm going to bring it up on the, on the banner. Number 10, observers will make their own meanings unless we're proactive about the meanings we want made. Abby?
Every Tuesday and Thursday at school, we have a school-wide mindful moment where we're given a silent minute to be mindful. I'm still unsure of how effective this mindful moment is, but I do appreciate the minute of silence. Mindfulness is weirdly difficult to achieve, let alone in a singular instructed minute. Being mindful is applicable to many scenarios, one of which being social awareness. In any social context, people are constantly making judgments about you. People will immediately perceive your actions, making own meanings and connotations from what they see. When you're not being mindful or aware of how you may be perceived, people may assume things that contrast from your intentions or values. Proactively making an effort to control that narrative will result in us being perceived in the ways we want. In theater, your performance on stage matters almost as much as your performance off stage. When you're in a rehearsal space, you're constantly auditioning, whether you realize it or not. If the directors have doubts about your commitment, then they won't give you roles that require any. I didn't realize this concept for quite some time, but the realization dawned on me after a few shows of not getting the role I had hoped for. No matter how good my audition is, if I'm showing up late to rehearsal or constantly goofing off during it, directors will doubt my ability to commit to the responsibility of having a larger role. During spring of my junior year, my theater company was doing The Wizard of Oz. Before rehearsal started, I knew that I wanted to play the Scarecrow. I also knew that I had some proving to do, showing them my willingness to commit to such a role. It was my job to control the narrative and ensure that they'd see evidence of my commitment. During our audition days, I refrained from unnecessarily interacting with my friends, made an effort to show complete focus on their direction, and to show up to rehearsal early, controlling the narrative. By doing so, I didn't leave room for them to even question my integrity because I had written it all out for them. Spoiler alert, I got Scarecrow.
And now this is the fun part, because this is like one of my favorite pictures of all time. There's Abigail as the Scarecrow, the aforementioned said Scarecrow.
Gorgeous picture.
It's incredible. And the other thing too is that just a little bit of a seed plant preview. Dorothy's over here, right? And for this picture, we're focusing on the fact that Abigail, in fact, got Scarecrow, and she played an amazing, amazing Scarecrow. It's like one of these things. It's one of these things that our family's going to be talking about for the rest of our lives. You know, is remember Scarecrow? And we reference it it's like we compare other things. Like even Abigail, you said when you were trying out for your last show where you got the role that you wanted, Ursula, but you were like in that. Who's it? Sebastian is like it's like a Scarecrow. You know what I mean? Like basically, there's a reference to the type of character and why you're so good. Your joviality, your ability to portray physical comedy and movement, and I just there were so many things that were wonderful about this. But later on, you're going to refer one of your Klooby Snacks. You actually write about your admiration for the character that played Dorothy, and so later on in the book, we're actually going to see the full Dorothy, same picture, but you're going to see Dorothy in it because Abigail's journal style response to that particular Klooby Snack was in admiration of and celebration and recognition of this Dorothy that she's been friends with throughout the years in the theater troupe. So, who's got a comment on the Klooby Snack? I mean, before I go and talk about what was originally on my mind, or Sue, you're taking the time to be here with us. Do you have any reflections or comments on what Abby shared with us or the snack itself?
I reading it, but I remember at the time your enthusiasm and just how excited you were through your dad's posts on social media about getting the role, and then seeing the performances and all the imagery that came through. Having seen all of that and then reading your comments here, kudos to you. Incredible maturity to see that you had the opportunity to control the narrative, and that you could align what you wanted with how you behaved. And I like how you said you didn't unnecessarily interact with your friends. So you didn't ignore them.
No.
But you found the balance between still enjoying your friendship with them, obviously, but also staying focused to what you wanted, what you knew, what you needed to do. And it's fabulous to read it.
Yeah. Sorry, Dad, I don't know if you were going to speak, but like with this quote, when I read this Klooby Snack, the reason why I was talking about theater is because like in theater, we always say like, you're always auditioning. Like no matter what, like you're always, even after you get a role, you're still auditioning to get the certain show dates you want or for future roles, whatever. Like you're always auditioning. That's what this reminded me of. It's like you always need to be mindful of how you're being perceived. And I think that, I mean, obviously it's not like care so much about what other people think, but I think that sometimes like you lose sight of the fact that like you're constantly being not necessarily judged, but there's always like assumptions being made, and those assumptions will be taken into consideration in the future. So like that, the whole like quote like about like you're always auditioning. That's kind of reminded me of this, because it's like in theater, especially like obviously you're always auditioning in theater, but like I was always confused. I was like, why am I not getting the roles that I want, or why am I not getting recognition? And it's like, I know I could play this role so good. And then it's like, okay, maybe because in rehearsal, I'm like talking to my friends the whole time, and I just like, and they're constantly waiting for me to stop like laughing so they can talk and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, maybe I need to like show them. Maybe I need to show them that like I actually am committed, because I knew internally that I was, but I think that making sure that your like external behaviors like mirror your internal wants, whatever. Yeah, it's really difficult for me, but I did it.
Yeah, for me, a lot of the maturity, like, being a team player, there's no I in team. It's not just the role that you want, that you're committing to, but it's the totality of the show. And if you're, you follow the difference between autobiographical versus, thinking and entitlement and selfishness, and you know what I'm saying? It's not just in theater, but in business. And, I was having a conversation with your brother earlier today about, attitudes in the clubhouse and the team. And it's like, not just being the best player, that doesn't get you on the field. It's like, are you coachable? Are you a team person? Are you on the top step of the dugout, clapping for people? Are you supporting others? And all of these intangibles. And so, a lot of times people my age, right, complain about people your age because all these kids, they have a sense of entitlement, they don't know what it means to work. And so like, yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Sue, when you touch on Abigail's maturity and her ability to understand that it's the totality of it. And then the genesis of the Klooby Snack is really from the land of nonverbal communication, right? It's like part of the conceptual significance of nonverbal that we need to teach students in the classroom is that it's intentional or unintentional. Right. And so, in other words, people out there, all they need to do is, like not just people out there, but all of us, we are going to make meaning, of so many of the things that we observe: a smell, a touch, an instance, a thought inside of our own head. But whatever we observe, a lot of it's visual, right? But some of it's audible. But the point is, anything that's observed, we're going to attach a meaning to it. So a lot of times people can look at us and we not be maybe intending, we're not trying, like in that, to use Abigail's example, she's not trying to tell the directors that she doesn't want the show, but they make meaning of that when they see her not paying attention or the things that she mentioned, right? So knowing that people can make up their own meaning, that's like, well, that's dangerous, right? Because we don't know what's going on inside of the people's heads, right? It's risky, and to be cheeky about it, right? So the other thing about that I wanted to say about this Klooby Snack, and I'm going to put it back on the board if anybody missed it, right, is observers will make their own meanings unless we are intentional about the meanings we want made. Okay, ... And even when we are intentional, they're still going to make up their own minds. They're still going to believe what they want to, right? So, just by being intentional doesn't guarantee that we are going to be accurate in the meaning that we want landing, right? It's still going to pass through our filters. We're going to encode as best we can. The more intention that we can pay to how we're encoding, and to increase the chances that the decoding will be in our favor, but still so much is lost as soon as it goes through their filter, their emotions, their values, their experiences, their fears, their traumas, their successes, their needs, their self-talk, their whatever it is, like we lose control. So that's why we say communication overall is receiver-based, not sender-based. It's receiver-based. Yeah. And a lot of times, and that's why I like the word observer, right? Because sometimes receivers receive stuff that's not being intentionally sent. It's just they observe, they see it, and they make meaning, right? Are you guys ready for this? I came up with a new Klooby Snack recently, and it was on the heels of all of the oh my God, all of the headlines when Zelensky came over and met with Trump. And a lot of times people are, all the sides are making excuses and trying to interpret what's going on. Remember the whole meeting, right? And they're like, well, maybe he didn't have an interpreter, so maybe there's things that were just lost in translation. Are you ready, Sue?
What's your Klooby Snack? Yeah, go.
It's of course, like that was one of the excuses. You with me on the context? Or maybe it was risky to come without a translator. Maybe something was just lost in translation, like nothing happened or whatever, right? Anyway, so I thought to myself, well, here's a fun Klooby Snack. Are you ready, Abby? Are you ready, Sue?
I'm ready.
Whenever anything's lost in translation, I'll bet you dollars to donuts it can be found in bias.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can cut out the dollars and donuts. But...
Okay, but if it's lost in translation, probably it's found in bias, or you could probably find it. Anything in bias, right? So our subjective comfort zones and communications receiver based, and observers will make their own meaning, and everybody's just trying to feel good about themselves. So they're going to make the meaning of what they observe in the world, to fit the narrative, to fit the comfort zone, or to fit the need, or the whatever it is. So I just, those are the things that I wanted to share.
Yeah, I wanted to
go ahead.
Add on to how you were talking about how communications receiver based. I think that people kind of like use that to comfort themselves. And maybe this is just me in my like high school world, but a lot of people, it's the way people are saying like, well, they're going to think what they want anyways. So like, it doesn't matter what I do because they're going to think what they want anyways. So I think people sometimes get under the impression that they have no control over how they're perceived because like inherently, like we make judgments, whatever. So people, and I mean, I've said this, like I've said it, but like, well, they're going to think what they want anyways. Well, it doesn't matter what I do because they're still going to think what they want. So I think people kind of forget or just pretend to forget that like they have no, they act as if they don't have any control over how they're perceived because obviously people are going to make assumptions and whatever. But I think that like this Klooby Snack is like a reminder that like we do have control over how we're perceived. Like we can do as much as we can to control the narrative. And then from there, like, who knows, but it starts with us. We don't get to control where it ends, but we start that. And it's like little things. Like a lot of people, like I hate when people aren't like making eye contact with me. And it's like, it's easy to switch that and to be like, when somebody's talking, like make eye contact. There's like little things. It's like not even always these big things, but I think people lose sight of the fact that they do have some sort of control over how they're perceived. They can contribute a little bit to the outcome. You can't really control it, but you can. I don't know.
Yeah.
They think what they want anyways.
Yeah, I'm going to offer. I used to write blog articles called Mind the Gap, where it was like we wanted to pay attention to the difference between two words that usually get used interchangeably or may seem synonymous, etc. But if we paid attention to the subtle difference, it might be empowering in some way, somehow, valuable some way. And the gap here between is, are you ready? Control versus influence, right? I think it was on the tip of your tongue. Abigail, when you say you do have control, you're realizing, well, not 100%, but then you went all the way to the other end of the spectrum, like, well, at least a little bit. And like, well, we have influence. We always have an ability to influence our own outcomes. We're always responsible for what happens, even if we can't control it. It may never be our fault, but it's always our responsibility, right? Our ability to respond. So a lot of these Klooby Snacks, when taken together as a whole, we've broken them down into baker's dozens, right? But when taken as a whole, it stems from my work. I'm an accountability coach. I want people to take 100% responsibility for themselves. And Abigail, what I think you're talking about is symptomatic of this larger door I'm knocking on with my work. Is how do we make accountability non-threatening? How do we encourage people away from any reason not to take responsibility for themselves? Like you say, well, they're just going to make up their own mind anyway, so why should I even be responsible for myself? It's because we do have influence, whether or not we have control. And if we beat ourselves up over the things that are beyond our control, we'll just get beat up. But if we don't exercise all the control we do have, we're going to get beat up. What do you got, Sue?
I'm really curious, following on from that, what your thoughts are around when people, particularly leaning more into that influence side of the equation, when people choose to be silent, when they could have a voice. And I'm wondering if it's not understanding what we're talking about here, and what you've written, that you do have, people have the opportunity to control the narrative. And if they understood that better, they would be more willing to engage and not stay silent when they could effectively deliver a greater sense of influence. And I wonder if there's an element of just being lazy. Yeah, Abby.
So in my AP Lit class, a lot of the time we'll read poetry, and then after we'll all take time to read it and analyze it on our own, and we'll have big group discussions. And at the table that I sit at, nobody contributes to these discussions. Nobody, and it's very like it's like the best writers in our grade, so it's very kind of intense. But nobody at my table ever speaks. I speak, but people don't really talk. And I've asked them, like, why don't you say anything? And then it's like, well, I don't want to look stupid, or I don't want to like say the wrong thing. So they choose to be silent so that no assumption is made for them or made about them. But the silence is also very loud. Like being silent, we've had how many days of school, and there's so many group discussions, and you don't say anything. So now it's just you seem disengaged or lazy or lost or whatever. And I've tried telling them that. I'm like, well, I think it looks worse if you don't say anything. And there's some people in my class who will say something and it's completely not on track with the rest of the discussion, but they're speaking, and it's like, oh, they're engaged. And I think that people, like off what you were saying, like assume that the silence is like protecting them in some way. And if they're silent, then nobody's thinking anything and nobody's noticing, but the silence is very loud.
Deafening. Yeah, the silence is deafening.
People realize that, and I don't really know what necessarily would fix that. But I've noticed that a lot. It's like in my classes, like where people are just like, well, I don't want to speak because I don't want to look dumb. And like, I mean, I do that sometimes in like a math class. Like I'm not going to offer an answer because I really don't know it. But when it's repetitive and you just, for an entire year, your plan is to stay silent so that the teacher doesn't think bad of you or the class doesn't, then it's like,
yeah. It's like whack-a-mole. It's like, all right, congratulations, you've avoided looking dumb, but you've succeeded in looking timid or ignorant or disengaged, and you've succeeded at looking all these other things. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's very, very, very good insight, very insightful. And we err anyway on the side of like, like 50% of the people are going to love you and 50% are going to not love you. So you might as well just be yourself.
Yeah.
And like we grew up, there's no such thing as right or wrong. Let it fly, and everybody, there's pleasure and pain, right? And there's opinion, right? But I'm always, and same thing in marketing. Everything is marketing, right? So like when I'm coaching people on their strategic staffing process, for example, it's like you can't post a position and have 100 resumes come in and then not respond to people. That's marketing. You're letting the marketplace know. You follow, right? So, and then every step along the way, everything's marketing, right? Our communication with the marketplace sets impressions. So, like we talked about this as well, Sue, in our book on branding, right? Branding is not a spectator sport, right? Like if you're not proactively putting messages and brand promises out in the marketplace, now that you're not setting an expectation for the marketplace, so the marketplace decides for itself what to expect from you, which is nothing. Right? So there's a through line here about being proactive, taking responsibility, and what else? This is fun conversation. We stabilized the signal, so no interruptions after the weird energy for the start, and the dog barking, and it was like the dogs were barking and the signal was cutting in and out, and hey, what's going on? And, all right, we got past that, and we are in week number 10 of the year, and if anybody out there wants to come on board, it's the same URL every week, tinyurl.com/Klooby Snack in the week of the year. So 10 next week will be 11, and that means 3. Abby, 3 more weeks, right? It will be done with a baker's dozen, and not only that, but it's kind of Q1 of 2025. Like, where did it go? Where did it go? It seemed like just yesterday you were getting
really fast.
Yeah, it's going fast.
It's March already. Like that doesn't feel right. But I'm excited.
Favorite time of year.
Abby, are you finding that you're applying this now more and more?
Yeah, and with a lot of things, sometimes it's just internal, where I'll be working out some sort of problem And I reference the Klooby Snacks, or even just what I've written a lot. But then also what I notice way more is me using them on other people all the time.
Wait. With other people, not
Like,
on.
Okay,
With.
sorry. Using them with other people.
Whoa. What are we
Offering them to other people.
I mean, it's funny to unpack that, right? Because no, it's in the book. There's been a history of Abigail feeling like all of this was like to her or on her, or like it was a source of pressure, that, you know, the parenting, the accountability. But as she's matured, you know, we still got to shake off the rust. You know, there's still remnants of the old ways of communicating. But like, I don't want to interrupt your answer to Sue's question, but yeah, we don't use them on people.
Okay. Retract my statement. But I find myself using them with people or offering them to people.
I like that better. Nice. I love that better.
Yeah, like on a little plate.
That's good.
Them. Yeah, like cookies. Like a lot of the time, and most of the time I don't realize that it's a Klooby Snack until after I said it. I'll be saying something, and they're like, "Wow, that was really good," and I'm like, "Wow, I know. Oh, I didn't come up with that." Oh, I don't tell them that, but there's so many times where I'll be saying things, not even just Klooby Snacks, just all of my dad's knowledge, and I've noticed that a lot in like recent years, where all of the stuff that every time he's trying to give me some lesson or not, I'm just like, okay, Dad, like I get it, Dad. And then in the past like year or two, I noticed myself quoting him, and I'm like, what? What? But with the Klooby Snacks, especially since I have all of these like memorized, I find myself using them a lot in conversation, which has been weird. It's been interesting because, like, as my dad said, they're all something that I've been like fighting off my entire life. It's like, I know, Dad. Okay, Dad. I get it, Dad. And now it's like, wait, I am him. Like I'm quoting him. It's so weird.
Well, you're partially me. You're so much more, and that's the whole deal. It's like I got to give you all of my good stuff and keep the bad stuff away, and hopefully you totally outgrow Mom and I and make your impacts on the world, and that's what it's all about. So, go ahead, Sue.
I was going to say you're embodying them for yourself and making them your own. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's been another cool part of writing this. When my dad always talks about this, but how like he'll read what I wrote, and then he's like, "That's not at all what I was thinking, or how I interpreted this." But it's like it's different. It's the same, but it's different. But also it goes for just the Klooby Snacks in general, how they're very, what's the word? Versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are indeed. That's why I hope like we can make some traction. We've got ideas about taking it to the next level. You know, we're doing these live streams. People are invited to join us and join the conversation. You know, the snacks are getting out and social media posts. We got a social media guy on the team now that's doing more posting and everything. And we have an intern named Melody that's like, she wants to come up with the Klooby Snack blog and try to create an opportunity or a mechanism for other people to respond to the snacks. You know, like, you know, what, right? We know Abigail, your response, 2 months from now is going to be different than it was 2 months ago, with how everything is moving fast for you and changing. And when you're in New York, it's going to be crazier and crazier.
Yep.
Can't wait.
In 5 months.
But that's the whole thing is I love what you said earlier. We want to offer these snacks to others, right? And see what meanings they make. And, it's funny to imagine like the blog in like a Dear Klooby section where people can write in questions that I'm struggling with this, or I'm struggling with that, or how do you deal with this, or how do you deal with that? And then it comes in and the editorial staff will write a response like, "Hello, John Doe." It would be so fun to work with Abby and giving like on an advice column, right? I would, I've grown in this project with you, Abigail. I would never hesitate to come to you for advice. Like, hey,
a lot of people do.
This is the situation. Well, I was that way, and I didn't realize it at the time. But there's a story about when we used to have one phone line in the house, and I was in 8th grade, or I was in 8th grade, and I was about to, I don't know, turn whatever my birthday. It was like before April, but I think it was in 8th grade, and I was in junior high, and I was on the phone, and my mom. This is when phones were attached to the wall, by the way, and we had one phone line in the house, right? So my mom would be sitting there tapping on the floor, waiting for me to get off the phone, right? And she was listening to my conversations. I'll never forget. I was on the phone, holding the phone to my head, and I was like looking down at the desk, sitting there, and my mom was over here off to the shoulder. I kind of want to do this real quick. And she was listening to my side of the conversation. She was waiting for me to get off the phone, and all of a sudden she slid underneath, like I was like this, and she slid it under the desk, a Post-it note, and she wrote, "You're gonna." Did I ever tell you this story?
Nope.
I haven't
All
heard
right.
this one. No.
There's a new one.
Okay, hang on.
You got it.
She came in with a Post-it note like this. Can you guys see this?
Nope. It's
No,
blurry.
take it back.
Let me see if I can unblur.
Yeah. Every time you show something, nobody can see it.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, the doctor is, and she checked in, and I was 14 years old, and I looked over at her, and I'm like, "What?" And she looked at me. She's like, as if to say, and she's basically communicating like, "You're counseling." Like, I thought I was just being a friend and having a conversation, but my mom told me that I was doing something else. Like, my friends were coming to me and confiding in me about their parents or the girl they liked or the whatever. And so that was the first time I actually saw myself as like you know what I mean? Like, and Abigail, I'm sure a lot of people come to you and want to know what you think and what's your opinion. And they know.
And then I give them Klooby Snacks in return without realizing.
Yeah, isn't it funny too? Because like sometimes they don't like what you have to say, but you tell them the truth. And hey, you may not like what you have to say, what I have to say here. This mean that, but you'll give them the reality, right? Yep. And that's going to happen all throughout your life. It gets frustrating, by the way, when people come to you and you give your time and you give your love to them and you tell them the honest answer, and then they go do what the hell they want to do anyway, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why one of the reasons I became a coach, because I'm like, no, like, I'm not coaching you. You're my friend. You want to pay me then, but I'm not going to stop working for 90 minutes to hear about your problems and then give you an honest assessment of what I think you should do, only to have you make it worse and ignore my advice. Why did I take 90 minutes away from my work to help you with that? If you know, I'm gonna monetize this profession, and I'm gonna draw a boundary between friendships and clients and all of that. So, Abigail, don't be a coach. Be a lawyer. Go journalism and free law. I'm not gonna be a coach. It's a tough existence. It's a thankless. All right. So well, this is cool. This has been a fun conversation. And last call, we've made it. Last call. Comments, questions, jokes, riddles, limericks, expressions,
next.
Haikus. Oh yeah. Only 3 left in the loving flavored section before we move on to ego flavored. Yeah, just want to see it. I'll show it again. I love it that much
love it.
too.
It's so good. One of my many heel clicks in this show.
It's just for the rest of the
I don't think I look like myself. You can't tell in the picture because it's black and white, but if it was in color, my face
was so colorful, so much animation, so much just unbridled joy coming through. I mean, truly 1,000 words. The pictures are worth, right?
Yeah, so much energy.
Yeah, but my face is this bright yellow with like a bright orange patch on it and then a bright blue one. Like, I don't know, but I've never felt more myself than I did in that role. I think I talk a lot about theater in this.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Right? Oh, where'd it go?
Yeah, you know what I was looking for? I don't know if I have parking lot photo.
All right, yeah.
But you see, like it's colorful. It's bright. It's fun.
Oh wait, are you showing it?
Yeah, except it's like there's like a glare on my thing, but
oh yeah.
Yeah, but you get an idea of.
I know my face was like stained yellow for like a week. It was just great.
All right. Well, what else? We anything else for this evening regarding tonight's Klooby Snack? Observers will make their own meanings unless we're proactive about the meanings we want made. And ... And sometimes even if we're proactive, we still don't have 100%. Anything else for tonight, or do we feel solid about another installment of double digits now? I'd be 10 down, 10 in the can.
It feels like we should only be on week 3 or something. Like the year has gone by so fast. It's crazy. Yeah,
that's going to keep happening, especially once you're done with high school. It goes so much faster after high school than it does in. The 4 years of high school take a long time.
Well, this year's gone by fast. It's still not fast enough. I just want to be gone. No offense.
No, that's good. I love it. Yeah, that's great. You got places to go, babe. That's cool.
I'm ready to go.
Is it over yet? All right. Anything else from anyone before we dismiss for tonight?
Enjoyed that. Enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here, Sue. It's great to when we have somebody else to kick things around with, and I always, it's just this whole thing is just a treat for me on so many levels. But to watch you, Abigail, interact with other adults around this content, to see you be recognized for your maturity and your insights, and I know what a big fan I am, but to see other adults in this world marvel over you, it's wonderful. So anyway, I'm just a full heart every Sunday night rocking Klooby Snacks. Warm, bite-sized, and delicious motivation. Warm and thoughtful conversations. All right, you guys. Well, if there's nothing else, then we'll go ahead and wrap up for this week and on to Klooby Snack number 11 next week. All right. Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Abby.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.